first tonight, an important update on Republican Pennsylvania Senate candidate Kathy Barnett. Now, in the last week, out of nowhere, she surged into second place in the polls in Pennsylvania's very crowded Republican Senate primary. Currently, the candidate I endorsed and President Trump endorsed, Dr. Mehmet Oz, is holding on to the #1 spot. But it's easy to see why Kathy Barnett is picking up steam and connecting with voters. We've had her on this program in the past. I've had her on my radio show. She's a very impressive person, an incredible life story. But because she was polling so low just until the last week or so, unfortunately, Kathy Barnett has not gone any kind of rigorous vetting. That is now proving to be a massive problem in this race. Here's why. In 2020, she was not a serious candidate in her congressional race. She lost to a pretty weak Democrat by 19 points. And now we are uncovering many troubling comments and tweets that would very likely cause her to lose badly in a general election. This is a very important state. There are so many questions she has never answered and many tweets that likely render her unelectable in Pennsylvania. Now, this is a must-hold Senate seat if Republicans have any chance of taking over the U.S. Senate in the midterms. This is a tipping point inflection moment for this country. Every one of these races matter. Let me be clear. Just because I and many others find her unelectable doesn't mean I want Kathy Barnett canceled. That's what the left does. Most of these problematic comments and tweets are fairly recent, meaning it wasn't done when she was in her 20s or 30s. These are controversial, extremely controversial comments said over and over and over again. So I've got to conclude these are her heartfelt beliefs. Republican voters in Pennsylvania and around the country, you need to know the cold, hard truth. Let me put it very simply here. I don't see any scenario where Kathy Barnett can win a general election in Pennsylvania. Let me get specific why. First, in recent years, she engaged repeatedly in some pretty disturbing, very controversial rhetoric surrounding gays and lesbians and Muslims. And she makes no distinction, for example, between Islam and radical Islam, wants to actually cancel a whole religion. On Twitter, she asked her followers to pray for her because, quote, she was about to board the plane to California and, quote, there was a homosexual female on the flight. In 2015, she tweeted, quote, Obama did what he does best, shoving his homosexual agenda down everyone's throats and paraded a slew of, quote, gay people before the Pope, whatever that means. She also heavily insinuated Obama was a horrible gay Muslim. Obama is horrible on all measures. He loves all things that are homosexual and supports all things that are Muslim. Also on Twitter, Barnett seemingly called for Islam to be banned in the United States. That, in other words, would eliminate the First Amendment to our U.S. Constitution. She also posted this disturbing image, politicizing 9/11, showing an apparent terrorist standing over the rubble on Ground Zero, holding a sign that reads, "Vote Democratic. Now, we need your help to kill you." There's certainly a better way, perhaps, of expressing a view that Democrats might be weak on national security, don't you think? And meanwhile, she also compared Islam to Nazism, told her followers that it was her right to discriminate against Muslims. And during a lengthy video posted to her YouTube page, she referred to all of Islam as depraved and evil. Take a look for yourself.
There are a lot of truisms I can talk about in regards to Islam. I spent a number of years studying it and reading the Quran, talking to Muslims, just to get an understanding, because it is the mindset of a Muslim is very different from the mindset of Americans. And that's the reason why we cannot fully understand the level, the depth of the depravity, the depth of the evil, because it's just not a part of the American fabric for the most part.
Look, she's entitled to her opinions. I believe in freedom of speech, but trashing an entire religion, I don't think that's going to get anybody elected to any office, any place, anywhere, and it will undoubtedly hurt her in a statewide election. Perhaps this is the reason why she lost so badly in 2020. Now, we on the show, we're very outspoken. We condemn radical Islamists. We don't attack good people of varying faiths, and there are good people in every faith. I was raised Catholic, but I'm very critical of the Catholic Church because of the corruption that took place. I don't know where she stands on Islam now, but so far she has not addressed any of these comments. Nobody's even asked her. Now, however, she apparently changed her opinion about Barack Obama. Take a look at this.
Bitter clingers. Remember when Barack Obama called us bitter? Saying in Pennsylvania we cling to guns or religion or dislike people who aren't like us. Remember how that made you feel? One candidate for Senate doesn't care. In fact, Kathy Barnett wants to build a statue of Barack Obama right next to the one of Abraham Lincoln on Capitol Hill in Washington. Kathy Barnett, woke Republican, out of touch with Pennsylvania.
I don't know a single conservative, not one. I don't know a single Republican, not one, that would ever want to put a statue of Barack Obama next to Abraham Lincoln. That doesn't make any sense. Why would any Republican or conservative support that position? Only she can answer for herself. Now, of course, Barnett also changed her mind about Donald Trump. She ultimately did get behind him in the 2016 election. But before she did, Barnett once even made fun of yours. Can you imagine that? Why are you attacking me? I ended up being right about Donald Trump. And all those guys like Glenn Beck, Ben Shapiro, honestly, in fairness to them, they didn't know Donald Trump the way I did. And they all came around eventually like Kathy did. Look, opinions can change. People evolve. That's okay. But there are so many questions, so many controversial statements, so many controversial tweets that Barnett is either unable or unwilling to answer, like why she initially was slated to speak at a QAnon conspiracy theory event. Why is she backed by the shady, swampy? I mean, I am done with the Club for Growth. They're giving her now millions of dollars, and I suspect that's because they want the Trump-endorsed candidate to lose. And I wonder, because they now need to answer these questions, why they're supporting Kathy Barnett with all these millions of dollars and all these extreme statements and positions. Club for Growth needs to come on the show and answer those questions. And what about all of the holes in her resume? She said she worked for 2 major financial firms, but her campaign won't tell us where. She claims that she once served as an adjunct professor of corporate finance. We can't find any evidence of that. She also claims to be an Army vet, but when the Washington Examiner reached out for proof, her campaign refused to provide any documentation. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Why not answer? And when the Free Beacon called for a comment on this issue, well, her campaign manager hung up on them. Today, like yesterday, we also reached out to her campaign on a variety of issues, but they refused to answer any of our questions. When we did, somebody on my staff got a hold of her yesterday and asked about these tweets. She basically said she had no memory of these tweets at all whatsoever. Is she claiming that somebody hacked her Twitter account? Anyway, Kathy Barnett is running for the U.S. Senate in what has to be described as a purple state, not an easy win for a Republican. In a general election, the media mob, the Democratic Party, they will rip her apart over all of these issues, all of these comments, all of these tweets. If she is unable to clear up these issues right now, before the primary, it's my prediction, and I don't think it's a tough one to make, she will be utterly destroyed in a general election like she was in 2020. President Trump weighed in today. Kathy Barnett will never be able to win the general election against the radical left Democrats. She has many things in her past which have not been properly explained or vetted. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.